And when it comes to
Right.
decolonization, I think there are many, many layers to that. And that's kind of goes into the next conversation I want to have, which is what you messaged me about last night, about the project that we're doing in Africa. So I'll tell you a little bit about our
Right.
background, because this is our first conversation. So I haven't told you how I even came into that, but I'd love to explain it to you. So for me, I've
Yeah, tell
always
me.
been very passionate about the Jewish people, our past, our present, and also definitely our future. And while I was a student at Columbia, I met this woman who came to the Chabad house, and she gave this kippah to the Chabad rabbi, Rabbi Bloom. And I saw
Mm-hmm.
this kippah, and it was very unique. It was clearly handmade. It was something that I had never seen. And I asked her, where did you get this from? And she shows me pictures on her phone of a community of Jews that are black in the middle of nowhere in Uganda, in these hut-like looking structures. And one of the hut-like looking structures has a Magen David on it, and clearly that's the Beit Knesset. And he showed me pictures of Jews wearing talit and tefillin and sidurim, and I was shocked. And the feeling I had in that moment was sort of, then I was 24, now I'm 27, was finding out at 24 that I had a sibling that I never knew about in my entire life. And as if that relationship was stolen from me. And I wanted to do everything in order to catch up on the time that was taken away from me, that I wasn't able to experience them. So I started looking into it, and I found out that there are Igbos in Nigeria, which are also descendants, which actually a fourth of the transatlantic slave trade was of the Igbo community. Because if you think about it, if
Right.
they're going to take slaves from Africa, which population are you going to take if not the Jewish people,
Igbo.
right? And that
Igbo.
and that identity then being lost over time with the colonization that they went through psychologically and mentally and spiritually when they came to the Americas, whether in North, Central, or South. And I found out that there are the Lemba Jews in Zimbabwe. And I don't know if you know this.
Zimbabwe,
but,
right.
yeah, but it's a fascinating story, the Lemba. The Lemba in the local language means a people traveling with heavy luggage, which already makes sense to the narrative and the story of the Jewish people. And ironically, they have 12 tribes. And one of these tribes are called the Buba. And the Buba serve as the priest tribe to their nation, to their identity, to their way of life. And so you always have a member of the Buba when it comes to weddings, when it comes to circumcisions, whatever these very Abrahamic Mosaic traditions that they still carry. And some Jewish geneticists decided, you know what, the priest tribes are usually the Kohanim. And we actually found a haplotype within the paternal line of the genetic code that shows that there's this common ancestor, we believe to be Aaron HaKohen, but there's this common ancestor from the Middle East, which all Kohens, whether Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, Mizrahim, that all share this same haplotype.
Right.
If they're the priest, maybe, you know what, maybe we'll find something, probably not. They did the test and they found out they have the same traces of the Cohen gene as any other Cohen in the world. So it's scientifically
over 50%
proven.
of the males.
Right.
Over 50% of the males have this gene.
It's proven that they descend from Am Yisrael. And I think there's fascinating stories. I don't know, there's very recently a community in Tanzania that just came to light, where for a long time they've been persecuted in Tanzania and weren't able to come and to show their identity. And now the government has shifted to becoming a little bit more pro-Israel and open to being Jewish and protecting the Jews. And all of a sudden we're finding out that in this day, right, where 5781, the rest of the world considers this 2021. And so in 2021, 5781, there's a community of Jews that couldn't even reveal their identity because of persecution. And so how could it be that all these stories exist? And it's not only in Africa. It's in Asia. You have the Kefeng Jews, you have the Pashtuns, you have Jews in the Amazon, you have the Bnei Nusim, you have all these fascinating stories of our culture. And how is it that we don't know about them? And wouldn't we, as people that are privileged to live in Eretz Yisrael, there's a privilege to that. For thousands of years, our ancestors have been disconnected. Wouldn't we expect them to help us if they had come home first, if we were still suffering? Wouldn't we expect them to use their resources and abilities to come in to try to change things? So how is it that A, we're not doing anything, and B, we don't even know of their existence? And to me, this is one of the biggest crimes of modern day Jewish history, and I'm trying to play a role in reviving that, in reconnecting these Jewish communities back with Am Yisrael, bringing their stories to light, finding out what they've been through, what they go through, because each one of them is different. You know, we shouldn't have this idea that the Lemba are like the Igbo and the Abba Yudaya, which all converted to Judaism 3 generations ago, but have gone through persecution and massacres and still kept their Judaism, right? So we have to really understand and break down these different stories, and that's part of our goal of our next project, to share these stories to the world and bring them to light. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it's amazing. And I think it just, everything really comes full circle for me. You know, one of the biggest frustrations that I had, I just be very honest on, platform I really don't speak about it enough has been not all, but particular movements within the Hebrew Israelite movement. Very strong anti-Semitism coming out of certain movements. There's beautiful movements within it of people that which don't get the TV time that some of the other chevra do, that have beautiful communities that are not anti-Semitic, that
Even in
are
Israel.
pro-Israel, even in Israel, right? Exactly, even in Israel. So I'm not talking about everybody, but the frustration comes at the fact that there is this level of knowledge that they're just missing, and they're not understanding that even if they were to trace back and look at the Igbo, look at the Limba, do a little research, then you will figure out that Judaism itself was never about color. It was never about, because I'm this color or whatever, I'm connected to this bloodline or anything like that. And I think people will start to understand that maybe there's a reason why I feel so connected or called to Torah and mitzvahs. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a reason why I feel this connection. You know what I'm saying? When I pick up the Hebrew Bible, I feel a certain connection to it, and they would start to find answers that would probably take them beyond where they want to go. But I think a lot of these movements, sometimes they're dealing with first the inferiority of what society has placed them in, and the need to counter it with some type of superiority over society.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have gone to other lanes, and I think that certain groups inside of this movement has led us. So I think that this is just important to educate a whole bunch of other people who may not even know these things, or they may have understood them from the wrong narrative.
Right.
On the flip side of that, I think that there's a major need for people in Klal Yisrael, whether they're Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Teman, whatever, to really also look into this and to really get involved, because it's this is Gula type stuff. That's when I seen it. That was the first thing I was like, Rudy, I need on. Help me, how can I get involved? I need to be involved in this, right? Because this is Geula type stuff, right? Hashem said from the four corners. Right now, people are waking up all over the world, and there's mamish, there's a magnet, something pulling inside of them, connecting them back to Har Sinai. And people are feeling this, like you said, all over the world, especially in Africa. I get messages from people in Africa, from these different groups, all messaging me, right? Wanted me to come on. I think I'm gonna give a shiur to one of these groups here pretty soon. I think it's very, very important for people to not turn a blind eye. And I was just speaking to someone else about it. I'm gonna tell you something beautiful about Rav Kook. Rav Kook, I can't say that in every Haredi shul that I go to, right? But I'm me, so I don't care. I say it everywhere I go. Rav Kook was amazing. I tell you, one of the most beautiful things about Rav Kook is that Rav Kook was able to look at the time that he was in, and he was able to be intuitive to what is it that Hashem is trying to say to the world by looking at what the world is taking interest in at the time, right? So one of the things during his time was poetry. Poetry was really big. Hashem is trying to say something about poetry. And his response to it was, why don't we have also in the ultra-Orthodox, in the religious world, right? Why don't we also have great poets? Why is our stuff not on the same caliber, right? It's the same thing. I remember one time we were trying to do an advertisement for one of our gigs, and one religious magazine, they wouldn't take it because they said looks too good, too Hollywood for the. We're supposed to have crap. What are we supposed to? That's what we're supposed to have. Like the Jewish one is the not good one, right?
But that's
the
such
one
a victim mentality that has been beaten into us.
It's a victim mentality that and one of the things that I've been able to see, and really one of the reasons why I really had to, own more aspects of me, not only for my children and the next generation of other Jews who are coming up of color, is that I've seen that Hashem is trying to send something into the world. He's trying to waken up this reality and sort of like break down barriers and walls that people have not been paying attention to, right? I will say, I'll be honest with you, I do feel like some of what's going on in terms of the way the media has been hyping racism in America, I think it's a little beyond. I grew up in the hood. I know several people in the hood that if you would have asked them before it started being on TV with the number one issues they're dealing with in the hood every day, they wouldn't tell you it's racism. For sure, they're not going to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? They're worried about other things, how to pay bills, how to get ahead, and all that could be a result of systemic racism and everything like that. But nobody's going to be like, oh, this is the issue. You know what I mean? Especially when I see so many Black people who have gone on to own businesses and do well for themselves and create infrastructure and build generational wealth for themselves. Now, why I can't do it? You know what I'm saying? So I will say that some of that has been a little bit boisterous. But at the same time, what I will say is that the fact that it's coming out so strongly, regardless of how it's being used politically or whatever reason that people want to use it for, there's a reason why God is allowing this to be talked about all over the world right now. All over the world, it's about this thing with being Black and how they're being treated by the other population. And now everybody's starting to raise it. It's over here in Israel, it's in the news. You know, how all the Black, and I think right now is the perfect time for you to do such a project right now, because this is the time that Hashem is trying to also bring this same awareness into the world. That's exactly what it is. I'm sorry, I still have phone like this. But Hashem is really still trying to bring this realization into the world and to revive something, an awakening, you know, that needs to happen. And I feel like it's starting to happen slowly but surely. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many people of color have reached out to me, whether they're a part of the communities that you're mentioning, or people that are not even Jewish yet, you know, who just have such an interest and such a connection that they're to the point of like, what do I do about this? You know what I mean? So I think it's huge.
I want to share a very short story of how we came up with the name of the film that I think you're going to enjoy. So obviously this documentary series that we're doing is going to have several seasons. It's going to be 1 in Africa, 2 in Asia, 3 hopefully in Spain and Portugal, of the Bnei Anusim, the Jews that have sort of been crypto converso Jews from the Spanish Inquisition, and those in the Amazons and in the Caribbeans and in Puerto Rico, and a lot of identities that are hidden there as well. However, when I was on a Zoom call with the Igbo tribe leaders, I was telling them that, you know, we want to show who you are, we want to tell the world, and they got very emotional. They had sort of tears in their eyes, and they're like, we can't wait. You know, it's, you know, for someone to be recognized after their entire life and generations of not being recognized by their own family, you know, it's a very emotional experience that all of a sudden someone is reaching out to you and saying, we want you, we want them to see you.
The Yosef Hatzadik story.
Yeah, exactly. And so as I'm speaking to them, I also got a little bit emotional. And I said, you know, I can't wait for the world to find out who the lost tribes are. And they said, you know, Rudy, we love what you're doing. We support you. But we have to let you know that the word lost tribes, or the term lost tribes, to us is a little bit offensive. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, because maybe to you we were lost, but to us we were never lost. And that's when I knew that was the name of the series. We were never lost, to show that they were lost to us, to our consciousness, to our awareness of their existence. But a lot of them were always still there. Even if they were completely disconnected, there was that spark of light that was still there, that just needed maybe Shevet Yehuda to be able to come and show them, or Shevet Levi to come and show them and to be the priest, or whatever it is. We need to be the ones that reconnect. And you're talking to me about, you know, some Geulah stuff. And this is the type of stuff, you know, I always see it as there's plan A, there's plan B. Plan B, if the Jews don't know who they are, they don't know what they're supposed to do, they don't do it, they end up assimilating, they end up putting their heads down, anti-Semitism rises. When a bully comes up and you do nothing about it, they will keep bullying you and it'll get worse and worse and worse. And obviously we get stopped until we realize and we go into this awakening and we go in beast mode and we stand up and we become strong. That's plan B. What is plan A? What can we do that we don't have to go through that in order to wake up? That we don't have to go through anti-Semitism in order to realize who we are? That we don't have to go through a Holocaust to realize, wow, we've been praying for 2,000 years of going back to Jerusalem. Maybe it's about time that we start doing it, you know? So plan A for me is finding a way to unite Am Yisrael, to revive our identity, revive our spirituality, revive our connection to oneness, to Hashem, what this even means. The concept of Hashem, to most Jews, they don't understand. They think it's one individual God, when God is one. It's not one God, it's one God, right? And even this concept of understanding the difference between monotheism and panentheism, and something that's very limited within the Jewish community. But even in Torah, it says that when Mashiach comes, or when the time of Mashiach is ready, there will be an ingathering of the lost tribes.
Right.
So instead of
Right.
waiting to see this ingathering and then Mashiach comes, why don't we actually go and apply the formula into practice
Right.
in this world in order to actually achieve our purpose? And that's really a lot of the intention behind this film.